Police officers have some explaining to do. Last week, a video surfaced of Washington, D.C. police brutalizing a man in a wheelchair on a local street. Here, take a look. D.C. Metro Police issued a statement justifying their bloody actions, claiming that the man was resisting arrest, something that cannot be seen from any angle on this video. Of course, this isn't the first time video has surfaced of police beating up someone in a wheelchair. So what's going on here? Will police officers be held accountable in this case? Or is police brutality just the name of the game nowadays? For more on this, I'm joined by David Sirota, journalist, nationally syndicated weekly newspaper columnist, and host of the David Sirota radio show, and author of several best-selling books, including his latest, Back to Our Future, How the 1980s Explain the World We Live in Now. David, welcome.
Thanks for having me, Tom.
Is this a case of more problems being recognized because we now have cameras and cell phones and more video is showing up?
It's hard to say. What we can say is this, is that there have definitely been more cases filed. I mean, the USA Today reported a couple of years ago that the caseload itself has gone up by 25%, police brutality cases since 9/11. So the caseload is up. Now, whether that's a combination of better documentation or not, that's an open question. I would say this. Whether or not it's a situation where we're just better documenting what's going on, or whether the actual rates have gone up, the fact is at 1,500 or 1,600 cases a year, formal cases of police brutality, that's just the reported cases in the United States, this is a very, very severe problem.
David, back when the Olympics came to Atlanta, I was living in Atlanta, and I was writing a novel about a private detective, or actually a series of them. And a friend of mine was a private detective, and the Georgia Police Academy, for the first time in its 130-year history, had opened itself up to private citizens going through the normal training because there weren't enough security people for the Olympics. And DeWitt Wanamaker, the guy who owned this private detective agency, said, "Hey, you want me to get you in?" And I said, "Sure." And so I've got a diploma from the Georgia Police Academy and a badge and the whole bit. But the day of graduation, I was sitting in the cafe, and there's this huge atrium in the police academy, and there was this group of 50 brand new, freshly minted state police, I believe they were, marching in formation and drill in front of us, indoors. And I said to DeWitt, how much do these guys make? And he says, and he threw out a number. I forget what it was, but it was like 35 or something. They start out. And I said, you couldn't pay me that much to have people shoot at me. And DeWitt said, that's probably true for a lot of people, he said, but I'll bet you about a third of those guys, if you give them a gun and a stick and let them go out and beat the crap out of people whenever they want, they'd do it for free. And it really struck me that maybe we're not paying our police enough or holding them to high enough standards. Do you think that that's is my observation way out in space, or is that pretty solid?
No, I think it's right on. I mean, what's frightening is that as the police right now are using more surveillance technology on all of us, many police departments across the country are using either forcible arrest or legal proceedings to try to prevent individuals from turning the cameras, their own cell phone cameras, back onto the police. And the reason that we should do that, of course, is not to emulate the paranoia of the police state, of the surveillance state, but to simply create some form of check and balance on police power, because I think it's obvious that it's needed. And as I say in the piece that I wrote about this, frankly, the only police officers who should oppose this are police officers who want to be able to break civil liberties laws with impunity. I think all the cell phone cameras really do is suggest to police officers that part of their job is to protect civil rights and civil liberties. And I think as the police brutality statistics show, a lot of police officers, certainly not all the police officers, certainly not even most police officers, but a lot of police officers forget that that's as much a part of their job as anything else.
David, what's the status of state, federal, or local laws against videotaping or camera shooting, phone camera shooting police as they're doing anything?
Well, here's what's going on. I mean, the easiest way for police to prevent this from happening, if they want to, is to what they've been doing, which is arrest people and then simply drop charges against them. So to get them to stop videotaping things in kind of the immediate sense and then simply let people off.
There are no laws against it?
There are not, as far as I know, there are no specific laws against nonviolent surveillance of police, as long as it stands outside of the idea that you're surveilling police for the purposes of terrorism, right? I mean, so there aren't any laws that say if you're not a terrorist and you're just filming police in the regular public space that you can't do that. But what I'm saying is that some police departments have simply tried to detain people without charge for doing this as a way to stop it sort of in the immediate sense.
Yeah, this is the way the Bush administration dealt with protesters when George came to town. Rodney King was a real turning point in American history. If people can't videotape and thus prove police brutality in the minute we have left here, David, will we ever be able to do anything about it?
Well, I think the answer is no, although I think there's one asterisk to that. I think we're seeing more and more situations where police cameras themselves are inadvertently capturing some of this on tape. Out here in Denver, we had a situation where a halo camera on a red light caught a very vicious police beating. And what was fascinating and frightening about it is that the police department in the office tried to move the camera away from the beating as it was happening. Luckily, it still got caught on tape. So I think there may be a situation where the police, their own cameras, may inadvertently at least be creating some deterrent to this.
Remarkable. David Sirota, thanks so much for being with us tonight.
Thanks for having me.
It's time to raise police pay and police hiring standards, in my opinion, and if anything, be encouraging videotaping of police misbehavior.